Gear up as Cash Miller and a team of accomplished guests steer you on an enlightening voyage filled with valuable tips, fresh insights, and effective strategies. Welcome to Marketing Masters, the Agency Power Show.
Hello, everyone. This is Cash Miller again, the host of Marketing Masters and CEO of Titan Digital. Today, we're going to be talking social media. I've got with me Jasmin Haffees of Eximius Social, and she is an expert in social and especially for e-commerce. So this is going to be a really good topic to cover. It's going to be about building, your brand through social, how you can sell more. We've got a ton of stuff to cover. Jasmin, tell us a little bit about yourself. It's great to have you.
Hi, Cash. Thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here. My name is Jasmin, and I am the founder and owner of Eximius Social, and we specialize in digital marketing for e-commerce businesses with a specialization in social media marketing.
It's great. So we've got a really good topic, and you are a pro at it because you work with e-commerce businesses. So we'll have a little bit of spin on this. It's not just social for any type of business. Like a lot of these principles will apply to other types of companies. But, e-commerce has really taken over the landscape a bit. Like we do so much shopping online and such, and building a social media, brand and putting together campaigns has become really paramount for a lot of companies to grow. Mm-hmm. So let's get started. I want to dive right in. When it comes to social media, like there are so many ways that we can use it, but I want to start off with, the most straightforward because social media is about a conversation and engaging, your customer. So let's talk about that. When you're putting together a social media campaign, how do you, work on customer engagement? How do you grow that, so that you're, to build that voice for your, for a company?
Well, we start off all with brand voice. And of course, the most important thing about having a company is knowing who's going to be your customer base. So when we're thinking of our brand voice, we're like, if it's a fun product, obviously we want to be whimsical. And our customers usually, they are what we based our product off of, the brands I work with. Mm-hmm. So when we're working with social media, it's the perfect place for having real-time customer engagement. So when we put out anything, whether it's a graphic or a video, we do, we obviously promote the product, and hop on trends. But of course, our whole focus is on the customer. So for all the brands that I work with, I make it a real important factor where we, do a lot of user-generated content, UGC. Mm-hmm. And that gets other people to see that, other people are using this brand's products. And that really helps foster, the customer company relationship. It helps grow a community, and people are talking to each other in the comments and to the brand about, the brand overall and the products that they sell.
So when you're really creating that content and such, what kind of things are you trying to, you talk user generated content, but how do you really get people to provide that stuff? Like what are some of the strategies that you would do to get, them to create content that you're going to be able to use?
Yep. So say we're putting out a graphic for a product. And in the captions, our copy will be like, tag us in your stories or videos. And I help my brands reuse that content on our stories and back onto our feeds. So again, it shows that other people are using the product, and it's kind of comes back full circle. So you keep on repeating this process of showing, hey, we would love to see you guys using our products, and us posting about it constantly. Again, most of the most famous brands you know and see because you see other people using their products or promoting that. So the more eyes we can get on a product, and the more people that, end up buying from the e-commerce business.
Yeah, because I mean, the nice thing about user-generated content, I mean, it takes a bit to engage them, but if you can get them doing that, you'll have the chance that, I mean, they're creating it for you, things that you can then repurpose is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're, really doing that, I mean, from your end, strategically, how much monitoring do you need to do on social profiles? Because if they're generating the content, you've got to pick up on it to be able to repurpose it. So what does that look like for you a little bit? Because if you're a business owner and you have to do this either on your own or you've got some staff or you're working with an agency, and like I say, what does that look like for them?
Yep. As a business owner, when you're working, on your whole other side of business, with your products and then having social media on top of that, it could get really stressful. That's why my company helps these business owners monitor pretty much the people that are talking about them. I use a platform called Meltwater, and it basically pulls up information on all of the brands that I'm working with. And that way it could be like, oh, so-and-so tagged, this company in their story, in their feed, on, or it's getting a lot of traction on social media, and we just jump onto that, seeing what's causing the traction, seeing if it's negative or positive. If it's negative, we have to, work with the brand owner to see how we can spin that. And if it's positive, we just go back and, look through the content that the people tagged us in. And if it, plays into our brand story, and we just go ahead and reshare that. Okay. So it's
Yep. Well, I was going to say, you said you're using an outside system, which, of course, as agencies, we do that. But, so give some advice on using that. Like, what is that kind of a system? Not just that one, that you mentioned, but others. How is that going to be a time saver for them, really help them, be a bit more strategic about this and, make it so their lives, because it can be hard. You get a lot of comments and stuff. So you don't want to be doing these things manually.
Yeah. Again, I feel like, of course, every, company, brand owner, if you're doing this yourself, you have to find a system that works for you. The system that works for me as an agency owner is, like I said, is Meltwater, because it helps me, have a lot of brands on the platform at once. And it kind of pulls up when, you're monitoring social media, you want to see where you're getting mentioned. You don't want to manually, go through your Instagram likes and scroll through. That's going to take you forever, especially as your brand grows. I work with brands with over 150,000 followers to almost, I think the highest brand I work with right now is at 2 million. Okay. So it's pretty much impossible to go through your likes and see who's saying what. So a social monitoring, SaaS pretty much helps you kind of streamline that. Yeah. And as an agency owner with, working with whatever number of brands I'm working with, it just helps us filter through that real quick. So what could take an individual person probably 1.5 to 2 hours, I can shorten that to 30 minutes on my end.
Okay, well, that's good because, like I say, business owners don't always realize the tools that are essentially available, for them to do some of these things that make your life a bit easier, and they can be set up for notifications and such. When something comes up that is significant that they really need to pay attention to, and that's kind of the idea. And of course, as you grow your following and you've got more people that are engaging with that brand, you're going to need to have those tools in place. Otherwise, it just, you can't keep up. Yeah. So that's great. Okay. So now if we're talking about taking social media, of all the different platforms, that exist for digital marketing and types of advertising we can do, social media is the one that has the ability for brand enhancement, and really putting you out there. So how do you go about, if you were working with a company, from the beginning, what would be some of the steps you would take to be able to build that up? That you've got a company that hasn't really done anything to this point, and you're kind of taking over and you're saying, okay, these are the strategies we're going to use to get your brand out there on social media. What would that look like for you?
Well, let's say I'm just onboarding a client. We, of course, first want to see what product they're selling, and then whoever, I ask you who's your target audience. And if you don't know, that's perfectly fine. We go through that. Now, as you all may know, each social media platform is for a different target market, right? You're not going to have like fun and whimsical things so much on LinkedIn as you would on TikTok or Instagram. So we find the target market, and I always suggest to be on at least 2 social media platforms, 2 to 3. That way, people can see that you're, everywhere kind of. So when we're creating that, we first, we find out your target market, what social media platforms we want to be on, and then we work on branding. This includes your logos, your slogans, what's your color combos, all of that. And then on all the platforms that we're using, we want to make it consistent. So we keep the same branding on all the platforms. And then we start posting, if it's a brand that has never posted and it's, completely new to the e-commerce world and we're building their brand, we kind of just play around for about 2 weeks, seeing, what works better, graphics with text on it, or just images, or, funny videos that show people, or is it just the product that does better? We kind of play around. And then whatever hits and takes is what we kind of essentially build off of. And then once we have a community growing, I pretty much just ask the community, what would you guys like to see next? What would you like to see more of? And then we just take those and build off of that. So essentially building the e-commerce brand from scratch, I, have more fun with, just because, it's kind of like your baby that you're like, helping grow up.
Yeah.
But with brands that already have an established online presence, we just kind of use what they're already doing, see what's working, what's not working, and adjust that and go from there.
So what you're saying, so if you're a brand new, and this would apply to any business, not just e-commerce, if you're really going to try to grow an audience, you want to start with some experimentation, because we can kind of figure out, who's our, ideal, client or follower or whatnot, what's that target audience we're trying to attract. But once we think we have them kind of dialed in, then it's a matter of, what is actually going to engage them? So what you're saying is like, for a brand, you should take that first, sort of a initial out the gate. Don't assume, try some different things to see what gets that engagement. Then once you figured it out and you say, this seems to be what's working. Now you can start to invest more seriously in that type of content. And then you drop the other things, to be able to build up.
Exactly.
Okay. So, and then I like the idea that you mentioned of, from there, it's, you're also engaging and seeing what they want to, what kind of content do they actually want? How does that usually work out? When you've actually gone and asked that community and said, hey, what are you looking for? What do you get for some of the responses and such, for doing that?
Oh, I've seen such crazy responses. We had one of my clients, has one of those body massager guns.
I know.
Our first target market was, athletes, people who work out, to massage your muscles. And one of the comments was my daughter's really stressed over finals. Will this work for her? And we're like, let's just get a college student, see if they enjoy it. Right. So it not only did that, comment help us get more creative, instead of just always showing, people at the gym or after a run, or, using ice packs versus this massage gun. We got a student who was stressed and just needed to decompress and use the massage gun. And not only did, we create more content with that, but we got into a totally different market with that as well. Now, all these stressed college students, we had an influx. We had an influx of purchases for this e-commerce brand, because we, shifted the conversation that way. So you never know what you're going to get in the comments. And most times it's not just us outright being like, what would you guys like to see? It's just us filtering through the comments and creating a reply video on TikTok or Instagram to that comment. And then you see, it could go viral. You'll get more people commenting. So it's just this whole comment relay pretty much that we go off of. So that was one of the more, crazier ones, where our target audience kind of just, fully switched for 2 months. And, now their market is, still obviously athletes and people who work out, but, it could be for the everyday person as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because it's like, it's digging through. So if you're paying attention to that conversation that's happening, through your platform, whichever, one you're on or multiple, you're seeing where it could possibly go from a sales standpoint, and you're learning from that audience of what they want to kind of apply to. So it is opportunistic.
Yes.
And it comes along if you are actually, let's say, you got to pay attention to what people are saying, because a lot of times businesses post, but they don't really pay attention. They don't read the comments and whatnot.
Yes. And I think that's like the most important part, right? You're trying to give the people what they want as, any business owner. And then there's no point of you just, putting out just what you want to put out, because you're not fostering any type of, loyalty or engagement or community. So that is really important. Just filtering through what people are actually saying about you, whether it's negative or positive. You have to spin the negatives and let people know that, hey, this is what we actually are about. Or, some what I consider like negative comments are actually like people's genuine concerns. Like, can this hurt me? And then you have to just make a more serious video being like, oh, these are, the side effects, the risks, like if there are any, and kind of like actually physically show them to be like, no, this massage gun, has very low risk to hurt you, and kind of, you could create more content on that. So I would say like everything's an opportunity to create content, and all in all, you're building a community. That's my biggest focal point, is community building.
Okay, so let's move into that then. When it comes to strategies to actually build that community, that following on each platform, and you kind of dive into the platforms you're more familiar. Like I know, let's say, depending on the platform, the strategy can be a little bit different on how you actually build a community. So let's talk about that. How do you go about building communities for brands?
So community building, again, we look at our target audience. And sometimes if, the brand has no clue who their target audience is, they just have a product, right? We have to brainstorm, being like, if it's like a Fitbit, who's going to be more a Fitbit type thing, I should say, who's going to be more towards their target audience, because it wouldn't make sense for, who should I say, like maybe like the older population who's not as active anymore, right? That won't be your target market. But, so we have to go to the target market and look at research. Again, this is where competitor research comes in handy, right? You're going to see what your competitors are doing. Who are they interacting with? Who's talking to them on social media? And pretty much, there's a market for everyone and everything. There's space for everyone. We kind of build off of that, being like, oh, okay, they're going for more of the 20 to 50-year-olds who are active. Let's try to focus on them. Or we can take it the complete other way, being like, there are so many competitors who are marketing to 20 to 50-year-olds. Why don't we do, 18 to 25-year-olds? Stick to a smaller one. That way you're more niche down. So pretty much just, you have to do a lot of competitive research and social listening, seeing what people are saying about these type of products as a whole online, and building your brand off of that. And from there, again, it all goes back into, putting out content, seeing who's responding, what type of responses you're getting, and then fostering the community. And when I mean fostering the community, I just mean, actually answering to them, reply to their comments, like and comment on, like, even like if someone says hi, when, especially as like a smaller business, you can take the time to be like, hi, welcome to thanks for checking out our page.
Yeah.
Right. The bigger you get, obviously you're going to be flooded with comments and likes. So you got to kind of pick and choose. Maybe the first 2 hours is where you're going to comment on everything, and then kind of let it wean off. So there's different ways of, again, like not every brand is the same, but community building kind of essentially is, put out content, reply, grow your community, like that.
How do you end up, what are some of the things that you'd end up doing to build the following initially? Do you focus more on organic strategies, use paid, advertising and stuff, because I say we know that with most platforms, they only have so much reach until you build significant followings. Once you do, then each piece is seen more and more, I say by a larger group of people, but how do you get there? I say, because if you started with 100 people or even 1,000 people, how would you get to where, you've got some good reach?
Yes, definitely. I always say start off with organic reach, because if you're just putting out ads and you're brand new, 0 followers, people are going to come back to your page, be like, I know they're paying for this, right? They have 0 followers. Like, how am I seeing their ads, right? And now, your customers know when they're being, when you're paying for them to view your stuff. So I always do, until about 800 to 1,000 followers, it's only organic. I focus solely on organic, and that's when we're cranking out content. We're posting like 5 to 7 times a week. We're, focusing on that community building. And once we get there and we see which video or graphic is doing the best, then if the company has the budget for it, we will push out paid ads. But I would say, nowadays with so much like free marketing available, like especially with TikTok, billions of users are on it. And as an e-commerce business, again, that's another reason why I love doing e-commerce. You can reach the entire world. So it's very I would say I am very pro-organic reach, not so much paid. But if it needs to come down to paid, to just, around the holidays, or if a special things coming up based around your product, yes, we do push paid, but that's not my company's sole focus.
Well, each platform is a little bit different on how much, or how long it can take on the organic. Do you have a preference, though? Because TikTok seems to be able to do more organic growth, at least initially, whereas Facebook, it can be really, a lot more difficult now. So do you have your own preferences for e-commerce? Because e-commerce can stretch across, depending on what they sell, easily make use of most platforms. Yes.
Again, for e-commerce businesses, I focus largely on TikTok and Instagram, Reels specifically. So short video-based content, essentially. And if my company does want to be on Facebook, and I kind of push, Facebook and Pinterest is a great one, we repurpose that content. So we're not fully creating something completely different and new. We're just kind of posting content out everywhere and seeing where our target audience is the most. And again, we're on 2 to 3 different platforms. For e-commerce, on the professional side, I might use LinkedIn. But, for e-commerce brands, the products are what, have to be sold. And that does better with short visual clips. So TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, that's where we're mostly focused.
Okay. So now let's talk about, if you're on these platforms, how do you go generating customer loyalty? How do you really, people have short attention spans nowadays. So how do you keep them engaged, coming back to the pages, being loyal to that brand and such, because brand loyalty has always been a really big thing. Why do people buy, why does people buy Ford, or, because they're so loyal, and they'll even get into arguments with, about other brands and stuff that they're like, no, I do this and not that. So how do you engage? How do you really build up that customer loyalty using social media?
Well, that's a great question. Customer loyalty too, and I'm very forward to the brands I work with about this. If they wanted to just pump out content and get more sales, do paid advertising. But again, we're so much about organic reach and customer loyalty. It's just from the get-go, putting in the captions, hey, feel free to reach out to us via DM for any questions you have. Right. And we get some ridiculous, DMs being like, hey, just wanted to know, have a happy Tuesday or something. Right. And it's even that small comment being like, hope you have a happy Tuesday too. Right. And then that person gets, you get a little oh, this company, is whimsical or, cares about my message pretty much. And it goes, again, word of mouth is still the biggest form of marketing. Right. They'll pass that on, be like, hey, check out this page. I commented this on their thing. And they replied back. And I've had 2 to 3 pages have a couple of content blow up that way, just because the comment section was really just fun and engaged, right? At that point, it doesn't matter if they're buying your products, because you want them, again, in marketing, we know that people aren't going to buy your stuff the first time they see it, right? The more you interact and engage with them, they have to, on average, I think it's like 7 times before someone purchases from you. We just want to be, the more a person comments on our stuff, the more we'll show up on their feed and on their friends' feeds, right? So we use that. We leverage, really just engaging with people. And that's how how I like to help my brands grow.
You mentioned, because we talked customer loyalty, you also have that downside. And you've mentioned a couple of times of how you deal with the negative comments and things that can come up. Can you go into that just a little bit more, especially because, for you, you're not the brand, you're the agency and you're representing them. So how do you deal with that? Just because business owners, it's how would they deal with it? But if they have essentially a third party doing it on their behalf, how do you approach that?
Yeah. The businesses that I work with, they are very hands-on. Like, they let me do my thing, but if we have, say, our latest negative feedback was for, let's say, this product that a part of it was broken. I immediately see that comment, reach out to the company owner, be like, send them the link to that comment, be like, okay, let's address this. What do you want to do? And 99% of the time, since it's e-commerce, just send out a different product, right? A new product. So with e-commerce, I would say it's a little bit easier to fix those reviews, because most of the time it's for a broken or missing piece, product defect. So I would say about 100% of the time it's, apologize to them publicly, let other people see that we are working on the problem, and be like, hey, can you reach out to us via DM? We'll be happy to send you a new product, or, another version of whatever they're looking for.
Okay, that's kind of what I was wondering, is that public apology, essentially commenting to their comment and such, I would assume, so that other people can see.
Yes. I think it's very important for other people to, when they click on the content and they see just people complaining, they need to know that the company is doing something about it, not just being like, oh, whatever, we got their money, let's just keep on going. No, it has to be, this person's complaining about our product, let's resolve it, and then, publicly resolve it. And, and we've had more than a handful of instances where the people who receive the new product will hop on a video and be like, oh, this company was so nice. I, commented that this doesn't work. They sent me this, and show it. And then we use that as UGC all over again. So it's actually just, it's kind of been win-win so far, knock on wood, hopefully it continues way. So, just publicly apologizing. And I always tell my brand owners, being like, it's very important that we are open to apologizing, righting our wrongs. I do not work with, I've, had initial calls with e-commerce owners that are like, no, we don't send out returns. We don't, offer returns. And I'm like, oh, well, I can't work with you then, because to me, it's the cuts, I'm on social media. I'm the front line of seeing what people are saying. And it's like, when I see a negative comment, I'm like, oh, they're coming at me. So it's kind of to offset that. And to if I'm building a brand, helping you build a brand, we don't want a brand that people are not going to talk nicely about. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that kind of, if they're not willing to offer returns or some sort of exchange or whatever, it's like, how do you have no ammunition. Exactly. You can say, well, I'm sorry, but too bad. And that's going to come across too, because if you don't answer it, you either ignore the comment or you answer the comment saying, we're sorry it happened, but we have this policy. So either way, you look bad for it. Yeah, so I can understand it.
Yeah, and coming from a competitor side, when I do my competitor research, I see which brands aren't reaching out, And we kind of like, it's business. Like we take their customers because we're, being on the front lines, we're replying, we're making them feel good about the products.
Right.
It's e-commerce. There's like only so many products. Like I work currently with 2 companies who sell the same thing. Right. So it's, but different audiences, thankfully. And we work with different things. But again, it's competitive research. It's like, oh, are they doing this? Like, let's do that. Let's hop onto that. And so you kind of have to work off of, the customer is your main priority.
Okay. So my final question would be, if you are a brand and you're trying to, you've never really done social media, or you've got something, maybe you're stagnant, you've done a little bit here and there. How would you really advise them on getting jump started? Like, just go through a couple of steps, do this, to get them, going and engaged. And also long term, what kind of expectation should they be setting for themselves?
Of course. I would say if you are starting on social media and I'm speaking for like an e-commerce brand, hop onto TikTok. Just start posting your product. Just, show it in action. Show you using the product on whoever it's supposed to, you're marketing it to be used on. Sometimes just open the product from the packaging that you have and post all of that content onto TikTok. And what you're going to do is, while that's on TikTok, you're also going to post the same content on Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels. You're just trying to get your product seen, your business seen. And again, this is after you have like your branding, your logo, all of that the same on all the platforms. And from there, you're just going to, start working on captions. Your captions shouldn't just be like, link in my bio, buy this. It should be like, this product solves this, right? Are you dealing with headaches? Try this, right? You're always talking to the customer's pain points. So talk about that. Just keep on posting content. I would say, again, 2 to 3 weeks, consistent posting. And when I mean consistent posting, that means at least once a day, right? If you have time and you're really awesome with it, 2 to 3 times a day, right? And so you're filming, 1 to 3 videos a day and posting on 3 different platforms. So that's essentially getting your content seen. I know when it starts, it's very low, like, 100 people to like 1,000 people. But the more people that watch your videos, stay on your video a little bit longer, the more it's going to be pushed out to other people. And I would say that's how you start building your presence on social media. And once you start getting those first few comments in, you reply to every single comment, whether it's just a hi, like so many comments are just hi. You're going to say hi back, right? Yeah. And then you're going to start building up your following. And from there, and this is all the while you're still posting once a day, right? And repurpose your videos. So many people, I see so many brand owners kind of get into a panic, like, oh, I don't know what else to film. No, just take what you already have, hop on a trend, like put trending music behind it, or, chop up the video into different parts. Some people are, some videos that are only like 4 seconds long could go super viral versus the same video that clip is from that's like 10 seconds long. So you never know what's going to take until it takes. So it's just consistency. Just at first be consistent. And then once you find your brand voice, start, talking to your customers in that brand voice. Yeah. And it's just, it'll grow from there.
Yeah. And remember that, social media is a long-term game. So
yes.
Yeah, I always advise people like either take it seriously or don't do it.
Exactly.
Because if you don't have the time, let's say, because it's worse to like do it and then have it just totally fall off because you don't have the time or the commitment. And to see results, you've got to be willing to put in that time. Yeah. And social media can be effective, whether you're, an e-commerce brand, but then there's a lot of other types of companies that can benefit from them. You just have to consider like who's your, ideal customer. Are they really on those platforms? And, what is your ultimate goal?
Exactly.
Okay, so this has been great, Jasmin. How would people get a hold of you? You are an e-commerce social media brand building expert. So how do we get a hold of you if they want to talk?
Yes, I am on all my social media platforms, but I'm on LinkedIn. You can DM me straight on LinkedIn. My page, Eximius Social, is also on LinkedIn, so you can DM me either on my personal page, Jasmin Haffees, or on my company page, Eximius Social, and we can get talking from there.
Okay, great. Well, again, I'm your host, Cash Miller. I'm the CEO of Titan Digital. This has been a great episode. We've been talking about building your brand on social media, and it's been great having you. I appreciate it. I think that wraps it up.
Thank you.